Next item is item number 9, an application for certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Brooklyn. It's 178 Court Street, located within the Cobble Hill Historic District. It's docket number 163310, block 297, lot 31. This is a vacant lot, and the application is to construct a 2-story building. This was last presented to the Commission February 17th of 2015.
Nor commercial, and asked that it be revised to better reflect the small-scale commercial buildings on Court Street. And these are some of those buildings that were shown as part of that presentation. So the proposal has now been revised. So at the top here, this was what you saw in February, and this is the updated proposal here. So as you can see, the punched window openings at the second floor on Court Street have been replaced with 2 large tripartite windows. The brick has been changed to a lighter color, and there's a simply designed decorative parapet at the top. And this is the Congress Street facade, and the large-scale windows turn the corner, and then towards the rear on the more residential street, they have still retained the small-scale punched window openings. And if you have any questions, the architect is here to answer.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. Are there questions for the architect? Okay. I think we're fine. We don't need you to present, Sharda. Some of you may recall the discussion that we had last time. They were proposing a red building. I think they talked about that building being more akin to the residential style, and I think some of the commissioners had some concerns about how the fenestration, particularly on Court Street, in terms of the proportion of the fenestration vis-a-vis the fact that it was a brick building and that it was supposed to be similar to the residential buildings adjacent to it. So particularly if you looked at the fact that it's about 30 feet and that's roughly usually 3 stories and this is 2 stories. And I think the Commission recognized that there are other commercial buildings in the area, but they are of a different style and vocabulary. And some of the commissioners did suggest, well, if this is a commercial building and commercial is appropriate over here, why not let it look like what is more historically seen as commercial buildings? I think, Diana, that was a suggestion that you may have had. So they've come back with this proposal, which I think, in my opinion, doesn't try to mimic now a tenement building with ground floor retail. I think it reads as a commercial building. And Court Street has a mix of buildings, including commercials as well, and that's part of the character. And at this particular location, it's an interesting sort of pivot or intersection, because if you go further south on Court Street, you have an institutional building, which is the church, and if you go north, then you have on both sides a mix of residential with ground floor retail and then commercial buildings at other corners. So I think the changes that they've made actually is more true to what it is, and I think that fits in with the character of the neighborhood. Are there agreed? Any concerns at all? Okay, good. So then we can move to decision. And is it your turn? Yes, thank you. By the time we've done...
What's his name?
No, it's not that. It's just that I can't remember who I stopped on last. Okay, John, please.
In the matter of docket number 16-3310, 178 Court Street, application is to construct a 2-story building. I note that the block front is dominated by intact mid to late 19th century 2- to 4-story brick buildings with storefronts on the first floors. that the buildings on this block share certain characteristics that help unify the block, including 3-bay facades with 1/1 double-hung windows at the upper floors, prominent cornices, a consistent storefront height, and red brick facades. I recommend approval, finding that the height and massing of the proposed building will relate well to the existing buildings on the block, that the proposed building's design, scale, and proportions evoke the character of other commercial buildings in the historic district on Court Street, that the tan brick facades with painted metal storefronts, large tripartite 2 second-floor window openings, and simple detailing relate well to the light-colored masonry commercial buildings seen in the district along Court Street, that the vertical reveal in the center of the Court Street facade helps to break down the scale of the 6-bay wide building to better relate to the 3-bay wide buildings on the block, that the smaller scale punched window openings at the west end of the Congress Street facade help the building to transition to the more residential scale of that street, that while the height of the storefronts and size of the second floor windows exceeds those of the rest of the buildings that compose the Court Street block front, the new building reflects the variety of building sizes, storefronts, and fenestration seen along this commercial thoroughfare when seen in context with the neighboring church on Court Street and the larger scale and openings of the neighboring rectory on Congress Street, that the configuration and proportions of the storefront display windows recall the large glazed openings of other storefronts on Court Street, that the setback painted metal storefronts with granite bases and dedicated sign bands relate well to the storefronts found in this district, that the rooftop bulkhead is set back from the primary facade as far as possible, thereby limiting its visibility from the street, that the bulkhead's utilitarian design and material is typical of rooftop structures in this district, and that the proposed building will fill a gap on the street wall along Court Street with a contemporary design that is harmonious with the special historic and architectural character of the Cobble Hill Historic District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This application's been approved.